Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. My entitled stepdaughter broke my heart and her mother supported her. I've had enough of them taking advantage of me and using me for my money, so I finally cut them off. I married my wife 6 years ago. My stepdaughter was 17 at the time. My wife divorced her ex-husband when my stepdaughter was 13 because he's basically a good-for-nothing, deadbeat waste of a man. He's in a band and goes away for months at a stretch. Not that I need to say it, but he obviously makes no money at all. From what I've heard and seen over the years, music for him is playing at shitty bars and drinking his wits off. My wife had enough of this behavior, which made her leave him and walk out of the marriage. Being a teenager at the time of the divorce, my stepdaughter never really forgave her mom for leaving her dad. She was too young to understand why it's impossible to stay with a man like that, and like every other little girl, she idolized her dad. Thankfully, the divorce was fairly amicable. Now I think it was a bit too amicable. And she has been able to be in touch with her dad. Well, whenever he came around from his tours, of course. Anyway, after my wife and I started dating and I met my stepdaughter after some time, she made it pretty clear that she wasn't thrilled with the idea of her mom dating. I think she was still hoping that someday her parents will get back together. Needless to say, that never happened. So I guess she kind of resented me from the very beginning of my relationship with her mother. I could feel it from the beginning, but didn't take it personally because, come on, that's just a kid. I tried my best to be affectionate to her while maintaining the right boundaries. I never tried to be a replacement to her dad, but I tried to make her warm up to me. My wife kept telling me that she'll come around eventually. After a few years, we did develop a more amiable relationship, and I thought she had genuinely accepted me. But oh well. Now I know I was never anything except a tool to achieve stability both for mother and daughter. Oh, I guess I gotta mention that I'm pretty well off. I inherited quite some money when my dad passed away when I was in my 20s, and I do pretty well as a lawyer. I'm only mentioning this because my money has turned out to be a huge determinant in my relationship with my wife and stepdaughter. Anyway, my stepdaughter got engaged recently to her boyfriend of 5 years. I've seen these kids grow up to be a lovely couple, and I honestly was proud of them. A few years ago, I got really lucky with some investments and had some extra money to spare. I talked to a few realtor friends of mine and bought a few properties in great neighborhoods around town. I have rented all of them out, but one of the houses needed maintenance work, so the tenants had moved out around 6 months ago. All the renovations are finally done, and my contractor handed over the finished project, and the place looks beautiful. This coincided with my stepdaughter's engagement announcement, and I thought of helping the young couple by setting them up with a place of their own. It's not a huge place, but it's perfect for a young family, and I was really happy about it. I told my stepdaughter and gave her the keys. She looked amazingly happy and thanked me for being the best dad ever. This also was a surprise to my wife, who got really emotional as well and thanked me many times. I also found out that they had actually been saving up for a place of their own to get after the wedding, and now that I had taken care of that, they decided to change their wedding plans and get married in sunny California. We live in an eternally cold town, so a warm Cali Beach wedding sounded absolutely delightful. My stepdaughter started planning everything and booked a few rooms for the wedding party. That was last month when the wedding was only 3 weeks away, so everything was planned out and finalized. I had even happily helped out with some of the wedding costs to make the day better for my stepdaughter. But then everything fell apart in just a day. A week ago, my wife's ex-husband decided to show up randomly. He had been touring somewhere in the South with his band and was unreachable by phone all this time. I know this because my stepdaughter had called, texted, and emailed him about the wedding ever since she had gotten engaged, and he hadn't responded once. This made her really upset because, and she had declared on multiple occasions, that she was finally done with that guy and didn't care if he's a part of my life anymore. She had told me that I have been a better father and that I would walk her down the aisle. I was very happy to have gotten that responsibility. My wife and I chose not to have kids, and I don't have any other children either, so giving away my stepdaughter at her wedding was something I was genuinely happy about. But I guess no one cared about that. As I was saying, my wife's ex-husband showed up to our city after months away. He had apparently gotten messages about my stepdaughter getting married. He showed up at her place with some gifts, and apparently all is forgiven. See, now this is something completely fine. I do want her to have a great relationship with her father. The problem is that 3 days ago, I got a call from her saying we need to meet to discuss something about the wedding. I thought it would be something usual and asked her to come over to me and my wife's place during dinner. She agreed and came over as discussed, but I never would have imagined what she was about to say to me. She told me that she had made up with her father and wanted him to walk her down the aisle. I was hurt by this and taken aback, but I understood where she was coming from and told her that she has my blessing with that. I thought that was it, but then she said that she has something else to tell me. I asked her what, and she looked at my wife and then looked away uncomfortably. I asked my wife, "What's going on?" And she took a deep sigh and told me that the resort was fully booked and there were no extra rooms for her ex-husband to stay in. I said that's really unfortunate, but maybe we could look for a hotel somewhere close to where we were staying for him. My wife then said that I'm misunderstanding what's going on. She told me that my stepdaughter really wanted him at the wedding, so I had to give up my room to make space for him. She said that as I wasn't walking her down the aisle anyway, so they think it's fine if I'm not in the wedding in the first place, as it would make things less awkward too. I was shocked. I calmly asked my stepdaughter if that's what she wanted, and she said yes. I then asked my wife if she was okay with what was happening, and she also said yes. She told me that she felt bad for how things turned out, but given that our stepdaughter loves her dad a lot, there was no other option. I said, all right then, that's how it will be. We finished having dinner in the most awkward and uncomfortable silence as I have probably ever felt, and then my stepdaughter left. After she had left, my wife and I had a huge argument about how she had just agreed to what my stepdaughter had decided and did not even try to fight for my place at the wedding. I told her that it's really not about not being in the wedding party because I understand how much her daughter wanted her bio dad to be there, but I told her that there we could have found another place for me to stay or some other arrangement. But clearly neither of them really wanted me at the wedding. My wife got really mad and said I was being dramatic and that she'll choose her daughter over me any day. Since then, we have had many more fights about how I have tried my best to be a part of my stepdaughter's life and be a good father, while her actual father was out prioritizing everything else in life except his family. I reminded my wife that this is why she had walked out of the marriage in the first place. Things got heated, and my wife said that maybe she shouldn't have left her ex-husband in the first place. We have not spoken since that argument, and today the apparently happy family left for the wedding. I was on social media and saw my stepdaughter posting a picture of the wedding party, and that triggered me off. I've decided to take away her house, which is of course legally owned by me. I've thought about it a lot in the past few days. I also want to be separated from my wife. I simply cannot respect her after what she said about not leaving her ex. If everything is so well between them, I'm sure he'll step up and be a good father and partner for a change. AITA here? Am I being too harsh? I see a lot of confusion about why I had to give up my room. Apologize for not making it clear in my original post. The way we did bookings was that my stepdaughter was going to stay in the same room with her mom while her fiance would be sharing a large suite with his groomsmen. My stepdaughter's 3 bridesmaids were going to take another large room. This arrangement was picked because the wedding party was supposed to reach the venue the afternoon before the wedding day, and it is considered bad luck for the bride and groom to see each other the night before the wedding. The way things were set up, I was the only one with a personal room. It was decided that after the wedding, my wife would shift to my room and the newlyweds would have the room to themselves before everyone flew back a day later. I met a lawyer and started the necessary paperwork for the divorce. The much-awaited wedding party is flying back tomorrow, and I cannot wait to see the reactions of my stepdaughter and my wife when I tell them that they have both lost their houses. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention that I am keeping the house. I inherited it from my parents, and it is still legally owned by my mother. She is 89 and presently in a nursing home. I've checked with the lawyer, and he has assured me that since my mom is still alive, I don't have to worry about losing the house in the divorce. Neither my wife or stepdaughter has reached out to me since. They've gone to California, so I think it's more than fair for me to assume they're fine without having me in their lives. I've broken the news in style. My stepdaughter was greeted with an eviction notice as soon as she stepped into her house. She called me up screaming about how I can't do this to her and how I've ruined everything because she was supposed to leave for her honeymoon 2 days later, but she can't afford to go now because she needs to look for a new place to live. I told her to ask her amazing father for help. I told my wife that I'm divorcing her as soon as she reached home. I've already packed up her things and said that she is welcome to take anything that was not already in the house when she moved in. Boy, she was not expecting that. Ha ha. She tried to convince me to rethink, but then my stepdaughter called her. When she found out what I've done, she lost all decency and called me some terrible names. I told her the same thing that she said to me. I told her that maybe she really shouldn't have left her ex all those years ago. NTA, so your stepdaughter and ex-wife loved you while you were paying for everything, but the moment the deadbeat, negligent dad shows up, you're replaced without thought. What truly terrible people. You never should have given her the house or helped with wedding expenses in the first place, OP. They just used your money. Whatever you did, serve them right. NTA, I can't believe she chose her bio father over you. Honestly, I kind of feel sorry for her because he will definitely disappoint her sooner or later. It's really shitty that she made you feel like you're important to her but kicked you out of the wedding so carelessly. She definitely could have had both her biological father and you walk her down the aisle. I'm sure the living situation would have been solved somehow, but it's clear that they didn't care enough about you. Glad you kicked those parasites out of your life. Also, I love how you used your ex-wife's own line against her. Good luck with the divorce. I hope it goes smoothly. I, 28, female, have been on keto for the last 2 years. I tried it because I was always feeling bloated and crappy after eating and was struggling to lose weight. Keto really helped with my IBS and other gastro symptoms, and I've lost some weight and am keeping it off. My brother, 25, male, married my sister-in-law, 24, female, last year. Sister-in-law and I have always been cordial, and she's a nice lady, but we haven't gotten close yet. I'm really close to my brother, so I see him often and usually have lunch or dinner together at least once a week. Sister-in-law eats a ton of fast food and pasta and just generally unhealthy stuff, but works out a lot, so manages to stay thin. She doesn't have the most mature palate, but Bro is pretty open-minded and had tried and liked keto food with me. She and my brother know I'm keto, and sister-in-law sometimes makes fun of me for it and tells me I should just eat some pasta a lot and just work out as she does. Usually it's just a few joking sorts of comments every now and then, and she's not rude about it, so I've let it slide. Yesterday, I invited her and her brother to my place for dinner. I asked him and sister-in-law if they had any preferences or ideas for what to have for dinner. My brothers said anything was fine, and they were excited for my cooking. I made a tasty keto meal and tried to make stuff I thought sister-in-law would like too. I did bacon-wrapped sausages as a main, one of my favorites, and then a slide of cauliflower rice with broccoli and bacon. They came over, and my sister-in-law was acting a little strange as I brought out the food and asked jokingly where the bread was, but everything was going fine. We were partway through the meal when my brother asked what everything was. I told them, and my sister-in-law got upset, saying that I tricked them with fake rice and that I was being sneaky and unreasonable and trying to force keto on her. She refused to eat with us after that and ordered some fast food takeout. I was a little offended, and then I suggested to my brother afterwards that maybe we could just do a meal, the two of us, and sister-in-law overheard and accused me of trying to force others to do keto and leaving her out. And why couldn't I just make real rice or pasta like a normal person, and that I should have known better than to make my weird food for other people? I didn't mean to offend my sister-in-law. I guess I should have known and tried to make some carbs, but the food was really tasty and I didn't think I was forcing anyone. So, sanity check here? AITA? NTA. I'm not keto and not interested in being keto, but who serves and requires bready, starchy carbs with every primary meal? I mean, a protein and veggies is a pretty standard dinner around here. I do bread, rice, and pasta with dinner maybe 3 times a week. I think that's pretty normal. My wife lost her mother to cancer 2 years ago. It was horrible and took a toll on everyone, but obviously my wife more than anything. They were very close, pretty much best friends. We knew it was coming and the illness took over our lives, which is to be expected. I also knew my wife would struggle when she finally did pass, so I tried to convince her to go to therapy, but she's refused. We have 2 older children, 13 and 6, and this year she gave birth to our youngest. This is the only grandchild my mother-in-law never got to meet. The whole pregnancy was very bittersweet, and my wife kept saying, I wish Mom was here. I wish Mom could meet him, etc. Again, to be expected. But the issue has come up that even before our son was born, every event went back to her mom. At first, I understood, but in time, it's become like we have this cloud hanging over us, preventing us from fully enjoying happy moments. I've tried talking to my wife about it, gently, but she gets super defensive and refuses to even talk about therapy. Our eldest turned 13 over the weekend. She had spoken to her mom privately and said she'd really like for there to be no talk of her grandmother. She wanted to have a happy celebration and not get sad that her grandmother isn't there. My wife agreed. We went out to dinner. Everything was fine. Towards the end, we had cake. My wife said, It's just so sad that Grandma can't be here. She'd be so proud of who, eldest, has turned out to be. I wish she could be here. Our eldest got mad. She blew out her candles, but didn't speak for the rest of the dinner. When we got home, I spoke to my wife privately and said what she did wasn't fair. I said she could have excused herself if she was that emotional, but she honestly didn't seem to be. I told her that this can't continue to happen. She told me that wasn't fair. I said what isn't fair is this rain cloud she forces over us. She's been off ever since and won't really talk to me or our eldest. She says we're insensitive. AITA? NTA. I'm sorry your wife misses her mom so much, but when her grief is not only preventing her from enjoying every happy family occasion, but making those occasions miserable for the people she's supposed to be there to celebrate, she doesn't get to tell you she doesn't need therapy to find a better way of coping. Or, well, she can, but she doesn't get to be surprised if that leaves her with nothing and no one but her memories of mom. NTA. Part of being a parent is being able to push your things aside for the children when it's needed. It sucks. She lost her mom, but it's never going to not hurt. She needs to realize that everyone knows it's sad she isn't there, and they miss her too. But constantly bringing it up will create an element of resentment in the kids that she doesn't want to create. My mom started buying me a little present on my birthday and at Christmas from my grandparents when they died as a way to remember them. Something like that is a way to have them there and remember them without it being sad.